What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video today, and in this video I have the immediate Airliners International 2024 reflection video for you guys. As always, I'm joined by my good buddy Connor. Thank you so much for hopping on board this video, and today we're just going to be reflecting back on Airliners International 2024 in Kansas City, what we thought of it, and the fun memories that we made along the way. Go ahead and talk, Connor.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of fun, and thank you so much for having me for this video. Glad we're maximizing our time here in Sioux Falls and looking forward to what this video encompasses.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and speak for the next few moments here, just talk about from my perspective of Airliners. There will be a more in-depth, a more formalized recap once I get all of this content out, but I've got a bunch to do here, way more than last year, so it may not be until, I would say, mid-August before we even see that formal recap video, but this one here, we're just going to be reflecting back on it and, you know, just talking about all the fun memories that we made, and we'll make some nice little references, and as the videos come out, you'll figure out what all those exactly mean. So, let's go ahead and begin from the top just with Wednesday. This is the 26th, so the first day of the show, of course, but the ballroom obviously didn't open until Thursday. So I leave Sioux Falls early in the morning. It's probably like 6 a.m. when I leave, and, you know, we take Interstate 29, and part of that segment was closed because there's flooding down near Omaha, so we had to take a little scenic route, and thankfully that went smoothly, and I didn't arrive too much later. But, you know, getting there and seeing Connor, Anderson, and also Dom for the first time, it was really great, and just a very wholesome moment that I got on video right as we arrived. And then Anderson, this is something that I have not really mentioned all that much, but you'll see that in the Day Zero vlog here coming up on Sunday. So Anderson, he is graduating from high school this spring, and his ceremony unfortunately landed on the Saturday of Airliners, but he had practice on Friday, so that means he had to leave Thursday afternoon to head back home so he could attend that and get that taken care of, which, you know, I think it's a bit stupid, and he 100% agrees with that, so a little unfortunate he didn't get to stay with us, but our goal is to try and meet up again sometime in the fall or early winter, whatever works best for us, and we'll make some new memories together outside of Airliners. We move into Thursday, that first day of the show, just a phenomenal morning as we walked around and had some fun. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the TriStar experience on Wednesday afternoon. That was also very fun, but of course, more in-depth assessments on those will be coming up in the respective videos. But heading back to Thursday, we have the first day of the show, and that whole morning we hung out around the ballroom, just the foyer area right outside the ballrooms, especially as noon drew a bit closer. We had a big line converge, and then the big celebration of Chris Slimmer, Bill Demarest, and the rest of the World Airline Historical Society, the whole crew that puts the show together. They did a phenomenal job putting this together, despite a couple miscues that we had here and there, which I'll talk a little bit more about later in the video. And I know Connor, he made this very clear I was filming that little part there. I'll be in the day one vlog in a couple weeks here, so you mind talking about that a little bit, just what you thought of it and how that executed.
As if we're getting into the ballroom on Thursday?
Yeah,
that was really fun. That just kind of was a natural takeover. I really wasn't expecting to do that, but, you know, your emotions speak for themselves, and when we have this momentum going towards a show like this, obviously, it's crazy. I think that was only 2 years ago that JJ and I and many others got involved with Airliners International, and Chris has admitted that it was definitely on a little rough trajectory before the younger generation got involved with it, so it was really great to be able to have that moment and kind of show that we are the future of this, and he's talked about that several times, and we have several clips of that as well. So it's really exciting to think about what the future is going to hold, and obviously getting into even more than just, you know, running around the ballroom and seminars. We're going to have logistical complications coming up that we'll be able to help with, and other various components of the show. So I'm really excited to be involved with that. I'm sure JJ and many others are as well. So I'm looking forward to what's to come with it, but it was definitely a really awesome moment, and just one small step to get us closer to what the future looks like of this show. So it's definitely a really exciting feeling for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited to get myself involved in the logistics of the convention, putting it all together, just trying to lend a helping hand, and I'm just kind of doing it with all the content that I'm making, and what Connor's doing as well is very similar. He's gotten into contact with Chris and Bill and the rest of the crew on a couple occasions to try and help out, which is great, so I look forward to doing that here, hopefully as they put together more details for the Atlanta show as we move through the fall. And again, that Airliners International show in Atlanta, June 25th through 28th at the Delta Flight Museum. That's going to be an incredible show. It'll be my first time in Atlanta, and this will be Connor's, I think, second or third time.
I believe third, yeah. Third time formally there.
Yep, third time at the Delta Flight Museum. You can go to his channel to check out some videos that he's made on the Delta Flight Museum. It looks like an incredible place, and it's been on my bucket list for years now, so be very excited to hit that up with my favorite aviation event of the summer. So we moved through the rest of Thursday, and of course, as I mentioned with Anderson, his graduation practice on Friday, so he had to leave that afternoon, so we had a nice, wholesome moment on there as well. That'll be in the day one vlog. But, you know, just thinking about that, it still makes me a little emotional, admittingly. But I think, you know, we did a great job handling it, because it was that first year in Dallas when we all saw each other for the first time, because it was Anderson's first time going. Admittedly, it was really hard for us to go our separate ways and return to our daily lives. So it was really hard for us to do that. But once we got into the groove of things, we knew what to expect for year two. And, you know, I think it was a little less emotional, but it's still not, you know, it's still not perfect, and I don't think it ever will be. It'll never be easy to say goodbye to everybody before they head home or after the airliner show and all that. So it's going to be difficult to completely overcome it, but it was a lot easier this year than it was last year. So I look forward to meeting up with the two again. And, you know, I have said this to them before, and I've said this to a few others, but the Connor and Anderson, they've become, you know, they're more than just my best friends at this point. They're like brothers in arms to me. Our bond has been secured, it's been cemented, and it will likely never go away. I think we've got a lot of fun things planned coming up as we move into the future, and I'm very excited for what the future holds for all three of us. I'm very, very much excited for what that's going to hold for all of us, and you know, I'm just so glad to know all three of them. It's amazing. They're great people to be with, and I'll put all their socials in the description. If you're not following them yet, make sure to go check them out. They make great content, and you know, Connor's been on the grind, Anderson's been picking up on it, and you know myself also picking up on it significantly. So it's phenomenal to know those three. To know those two, rather, and just have the three of us be together. It's great. We come from different parts of the country, but for the time that we do get to meet, it's great. And we've got plenty of connections too. We have pretty much each other's contact information across everything at this point, so we are able to stay in touch fairly regularly and talk about it and relive those memories and make some new ones along the way. So then we move into Friday, the second day of the show, and this is another tour day, of course. The Jet Midwest experience was great, and also the various seminars as well that I forgot to mention. The seminars overall were incredible. Tom Livesey, Todd Models, Joe Crawford, and John Jameson, which was more the welcome reception thing, which was also great. Great pizza there and a great slideshow and everything. Just an overall phenomenal seminar schedule, and also the other event schedule as well was really, really great. I'm very happy with how that turned out. And it's just, you know, it's really hard for me to, you know, comprehend all of this together, put it all into one. And I know Connor, you feel the same way too, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's hard for us to sort of talk about it, you know, just coming off of it. And obviously Connor and I, we did another fun thing as well, and we'll talk a little bit about that at the end of the video. But, you know, the seminars were incredible, and if I had to pick my favorite, I think, honestly, it's kind of hard. I really want to say it was Todd's with the Gemini jets and the behind the scenes, but the one with Joe Crawford on his frequent flyer programs, that's a close second. That was a really good one to you know, just see how he's progressed over the years and on his travels, because he's traveled like 4 million miles with American Airlines alone. That's not even counting the other airlines that he's flown for and the other airlines that he's flown with. I'm sure his actual mileage total. And Connor, what did you say was that? What do you think it's at?
I'm sure it's got to be 15 or 20 million, considering that he is a pilot himself. But I can only imagine how high it is, and he does a bunch of trans-Pacific flights and all other sorts of connections. So it's got to be really high. But regardless of the case, it was so cool to hear about his early years and his experience with American Airlines.
Yeah, it's got to be just absolutely off the charts compared to anyone else that I know. I've only traveled, you know, just a handful of times, and the times that I, you know, do travel often, it's usually very short-lived, and it's just on the road, because that's the most economical for me and everyone involved. So, you know, I don't fly that much, but of course I'm going to have to fly to this one in Atlanta, but I'm very excited about it, and hopefully I can maximize it by doing something fun prior to. I've got a couple ideas in mind, but we just have to see how the hotel rate rates pan out and what the flight costs are going to be. But I imagine, the direct flight to Atlanta, that's the easiest option, but trying to get there is going to be very expensive. So I'd rather do something fun if it means I can save money in the long run.
Love it.
Yep. And then we move into the barbecue event on Friday night, which was, it didn't go exactly smooth to start, but thankfully once we got there, it did improve significantly. But basically, the premise of that is we had buses organized and they didn't show up. Only a portion of it did. So then everybody had to make, or not everybody, but mostly everybody had to make alternate travel plans right there on the spot. And I was in that group too. But thankfully, it all worked out okay, and the food was great at the TWA Museum downtown. So it all smoothed out in the end. So very glad that it did not turn into a complete, as I'm going to say here, fustercluck, as much as I would have feared. So very glad that it didn't turn into a mess. And then we move into Saturday, the last day of the show. Mostly everybody leaving on that day. There's still a few people, as I said earlier, it's hard to say goodbye to quite a few people that you know really well and that you've talked to regularly on Discord or Instagram or just over the phone in general, whatever it may be. Being there in person, it's so much different and it's much more fun than just being on a phone and talking to them through text or a voice call, whatever it may be. So it's really hard to say goodbye, but as I said before, year 2, it's a little easier. Still not very easy, but it's much easier this time around. So I wasn't, close to choking up or anything this time like I was last year in Dallas. But, even still thinking about it right now, it's a little hard for me to keep a straight composure at this point in time. And I'm sure, Connor, he's probably the same way. What do you think?
Yeah, I completely agree. So Chicago, I didn't really know what to expect, so that was challenging. But Dallas really got it home for me with regards to how challenging it was to, just the climax and the amount of excitement that builds up is so challenging, and you almost have to laugh about it, not to cry almost, because of just how much goes into it. And, we talk about it for so long. We make all these videos talking about it and then preparing for it. And then you get to the moment and then it's like just kid in a candy store, Christmas, and all of it combined for 4 days in a row. And then when everybody's got to say bye Saturday night, it's like, man, it's already done. But it was just so much fun to get to put it all together at once. I'm so appreciative and have so much gratitude to Chris Slimmer, Bill Demarest, Steve, and all of World Airlines Historical Society, along with all the volunteers at the Hilton, the Jet Midwest facility, TriStar, TWA Museum, and everybody else that made this possible, because you really have to think about how fortunate we are for Airliners International to function the way that it does, considering how many logistical complications go into it, as I was referring to earlier. One bus, 2 buses can be the headache of 100, 200 people getting from point A to point B. And just think about how fortunate we've been that the other 20 buses ran on time to their respective tours, and the other hundreds of employees that showed up at the Hilton Hotel to be able to cook our food for the various events, along with, obviously setting up the ballroom. We haven't even got to this yet, but we spent a significant amount of time helping Chris Slimmer with his Slimmerville setup, which is all of his memorabilia that he has. We spent at least 2 hours packing it up on Saturday, and I hate to say it, but we barely scratched the surface with getting it put up. It took an hour by itself to put up glassware and just a bunch of other logistical complications that I for sure will be making videos on. I'm sure JJ will make some additional content as well, as Gemini Jets 1975 uploads a in-flight video right as we make this. So,
that is awesome.
But it definitely goes to show, we have to be super appreciative, and that's why I always thank these guys, because it's not just about that, but, the vendors also have to be happy as well, and making sure that all their items get to A to B soon. And I also did a couple of interviews with Todd Michaels and Donnie from DG Pilot, so it'll be fun to gain different perspectives on how this functions, and obviously the convention. But honestly, I'm in love with the process. I really enjoyed learning about how these various parts of the convention function, how it goes for other people as well. But we have to be super appreciative, and that really, in my mind, goes to show it's kind of like a flight delay, right? There's so many times where the world does go right, and I'm a big person on gratitude and really appreciating what I have, and I think it really goes to show that, we do run into hiccups every now and then. There was a couple others, obviously, with the spotting meetup not going according to plan either, and so on and so forth, but what we can do is continue to prepare for next year. These are really good learning lessons, especially at the spotting meetup. I have a whole new plan of how I'll be able to do that for Atlanta, so I'm looking forward to executing on that plan, and so on and so forth. So we'll talk about this more in the future, but definitely a really good time to appreciate how this convention functions and how successful it's been, and one bus showing up or not showing up won't be the end of the world. So I think everybody handled it really well, considering it's right there on the spot, and I'm really eager to continue to get back on track and continue to be efficient. So we'll talk about that more in the future, but I think think it is a good time to recognize how smoothly these operations have gone over time.
Yes, and, it really teaches me just to be grateful for what we have and just the whole operation going smooth in the places that it does. So it's great that we had such a fantastic time despite the miscues here and there. And I know the Hilton, there had been some complaints about some of the rooms as well, unfortunately, because it's not necessarily the newest facility out there. But thankfully, the Renaissance should be a much, much better facility. Even if it means we have to pay a little more for the rooms, I would rather have a good room and pay a little more than, try to save up and then, the room isn't all that great. But at the end of the day, the rooms were solid and my room was fine. We didn't have any major issues other than just the fridge being too cold for our food. But that was an easy fix once we found out how to adjust the settings on the temperature and everything. So once we got that fixed, everything, it was all smooth sailing. So that's great. And then continuing on here with Saturday, we move into the banquet, of course. That was a great time. My first time being there, Connor's second time being there. Just wish, of course, we had more of our close circle there, but of course, most of them had left by that point. But we did have a great time with the people that were sitting there. A few of us did win prizes. Connor and I, neither of us didn't get anything from the raffles, but it was great to see some people winning, including a few at our table even, which was great. You'll see more videos on that coming very soon. It'll probably be, at least for me, towards the end of July. And then that's kind of the convention itself. And then we move into Sunday, the first day post-Airliners, in the post-Airliners 2024 era. So Connor and I, you've already seen the announcement of what we've done, but Connor traveled with me back to Sioux Falls, and it was his first time in South Dakota. He's enjoyed it so far. And after that, we went up to Minneapolis, and we did some fun plane spotting there. And of course, there will be videos on that coming soon. So this was Connor's first time at the aircraft viewing area, Cargo Road as we like to call it, and it sounds like he thoroughly enjoyed it. So talk about your thoughts on the whole spot, Connor. What do you think of it, and just how much you enjoyed it?
Minneapolis is a really cool airport and really glad to come during peak time here in the summer. It was supposed to be mostly cloudy for the majority of the day, but we actually had quite a bit of sun, so that was definitely really fun. But getting more to the point with how awesome it was, we saw 5 go-arounds because it was extremely windy in conjunction with a bunch of cool international wide bodies. We saw Lufthansa, Aer Lingus, Air France, among others, and even the Icelandair 80th anniversary livery, which was really cool. So saw all those among with the whole Delta Airlines fleet, it felt like. So that was really fun, and overall I just really enjoyed it. So really efficient to be able to tag that on to the end of my trip here, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So that was really fun, and I'm really excited to come back in the future. It's a great observation area, and I highly recommend bouncing around the country after these airline shows or beforehand so you can make the most of your investment and capitalize on these opportunities.
Absolutely, and Connor definitely will have more to say because, as most of you may know, he's been on a big 25-day trip. Started back on June 8th when he flew from Tulsa to St. Louis, and then from there he went to New York, overseas to Europe, spent a couple weeks there, and then came back to the U.S., met up with Anderson, spent a couple days with him there, and then they flew together to Kansas City after doing a very unique itinerary, and you'll see Connor talk more about that on his channel. He'll make his own reflection video on the whole trip itself and also the convention as well, so you can go a little bit more into his thoughts on the show from his perspective, rather than just some of the supplemental information that he's providing here in this video. But as from my perspective with Minneapolis, it was a great time. My longest spotting session to date, so there will be tons of content, and I was originally planning on only doing 2 videos, but I'm thinking it may have to be 3, maybe even 4. But I have to assess what all content I have, and I'm getting it onto my computer right now. I think it's just about done, actually. So thankfully that should clear up here. And we'll get that going as soon as we get the rest of the Airliners content done, which I'm going to have to sort of grind on for the next few days before I go out of town again. My annual Independence Day family gatherings coming up, so I got to take care of that and want to make sure I get as much content out as possible so I can enjoy that. And then when I get back home, start on content again and just, try to grind it out as best I can before this summer comes to a close. But we still got a long ways to go and plenty more memories to make along the way. So I'm very much excited about it and just looking forward to seeing what the future holds for all of us as we head into next year. Airliners 2025 Atlanta, June 25th through 28th at Delta Flight Museum. Make sure to get after it. Registration is not open yet, and the website hasn't yet been updated. As I take a look here, it's still.
We'll be sure to make a video as soon as we have additional information.
Yes, and we'll get the preparation videos going as soon as they start making updates. And before I conclude the video here, I do want to quickly mention the Airliners 2024 community content playlist. Right now we have about 60 videos in there, almost 300 views in there as well, which is awesome. So tons of people are clicking on the playlist. So I will link that in the description if you want to go check it out. And we're still adding new videos, pretty much like 5, 10, 15 videos every single day. I keep checking YouTube regularly, but if I do miss a video, let me know. I'll get it into the playlist as soon as I can. I'm always checking YouTube regularly. And I also went ahead and did this because I figured since last year's show did have quite a bit of this in there, I didn't want it to become too cluttered. I made a in-flight content playlist for those that were traveling to and from Airliners International in Kansas City. So if you have an in-flight video that I don't have in there during your travels to and fro, just let me know. I'll get it in there. As of right now, we have a dozen videos in there. We have Star Alliance Man, Gemini Jets 1975, and of course, as we were recording this, he uploaded another one, so I'm actually going to get that in there as soon as I'm done with this. And then we also have Syracuse Aviation with a good chunk of in-flight videos so far, and not all of them just yet. I think, he still has the stuff on the way home that he has yet to get to, which will hopefully be very soon. So make sure to head to his channel and check out that. I think, I did mention Star Alliance Man as well, so we're good on all the in-flight content. And then just checking the community content, just the folks that have made videos that are in there. We have Aviation LAS, Connor, Dreamliner Fan, and we have a few other folks that are in there as well. Gomez Aviation has already done a few videos, and it's really just the same crew right now. Gemini Jets 1975, he's done a few. Raji 767, I think that's a new person. Northwest Aviation, I believe, is new. Robloxian Pilot is also new to me as far as I'm concerned. So we have some new people making videos, which is great, and I imagine we'll probably surpass last year's total, which would be nice if we did. And on the track that we are on right now, it looks like that's going to happen. So that's going to be very awesome, and we'll do a full, like 1 year later reflection video, I'm sure, when we get to that. Hopefully we do meet up again right before Atlanta, or at any other point in time where we can just hop on a phone call and just start talking about it. It'd be great to reflect on it after one whole year. And yes,
I wanted to add one more note. There's going to be an upcoming Airliners International podcast episode sometime later this month to reflect on it. So Stay on the lookout for that. We'll have additional information about that sometime later in July.
Yes, and we'll have that podcast is going. And I should just mention, I always like to mention it. Just be safe. It's not something that the World Airline Historical Society themselves have created. It's my idea. Connor's very much on board with it, and I think we'll probably have Mark and Anderson come back onto this episode as well. But we'll have a couple new guests that may also join us if they want to provide their input on the convention and just how much they enjoyed it as well. So it'll be very nice to have a good group of us just talking about Kansas City, what we thought of it, and what we're looking forward to as we head into Atlanta. So we'll probably record it sometime mid-July. It should be out before July 31st. So I'll set aside some time to get that taken care of once we get a little bit more of this content done in the future. And that's it for this sort of informal reflection video on Airliners 2024 in Kansas City. Connor, you want to provide any last second thoughts before I conclude this video?
Really, really fun convention. I know that's just kind of generic to say, but I mean, it was so genuine and so down to earth and just overall just made my heart happy. I had a great time meeting all of you and looking forward to what's to come in the future. It's safe to say that we continue to build every single day, and I'm really excited to see what the future is going to look like. We're going to have our biggest show yet. I'm sure we're going to have thousands of attendees coming into Atlanta next summer, so expect plenty of preparation videos along with a bunch of words and advertisements coming through. It's going to be pushed a bunch, so sorry if it's a little much, but we really want to get it out to every single person that may make friendships and other aviation memories like JJ and I's and Anderson's and many others possible.
Yeah, and that's what's going to be our focus as we move forward. We want this show to succeed for this next generation of young enthusiasts that have been coming out to the show since we started pushing the crap out of it after Chicago. So we're very excited about it. So with that being said, that is the end of the video. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.